Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I know it's been a while since I've been online. I've just been doing a lot of things, a lot's been going on, a lot's been happening. But again, I touch bases with you all to let you know that I am okay. I hope you guys are still holding strong in the faith and moving forward despite the challenges that we're all facing. I found a lot of times when I talk about the things that I may be going through, a lot of you guys are saying, yes, it is the same thing for me. And I believe that we're probably all in the same space, perhaps different circumstances, but going through our own things where we are living our own scriptures. We'll read in the Bible and we'll learn about what Paul went through and the struggles of David, and we'll learn about what Jonah went through, and we'll read about Jesus's walk. But those are the landmarks and things that we read about. But then it's a different things when we a different feeling when we're living our own chapters and verses ourselves, where what we know and we learn in the Bible, it becomes a big reality, but something that we actually have to live. It's not enough to just quote it, it's not enough to just know it, but sometimes when all else fails, you can only just hold fast in what you believe and just hold on. And those are some of the things that I have experienced, have gone through. A lot of the challenges have been things, with my health, um, things of that nature, and just navigating through that. And so I'm just asking you guys just to keep me in your prayers in that, and just all the little things that wants to raise its head and become problematic. I'm asking you guys just to keep me in prayer, and it will be so greatly appreciated. The reason why I want to come on here is just talk about something that's been on the news. Some of you may or may not be aware of it, but it was the death of a, he's a politician, activist, but he was more of someone who went around and spoke about a lot of things. His name was Charlie Kirk, and he just went around to different colleges. His focus was really on the youth, and he spoke to them about different things. He had Christian beliefs. He believed in the Lord. He believed in Jesus Christ. He was not, he did not, he would often challenge and have a conversation about anything from abortion to um, transgenderism, just those topics. Anything that was normally a hot topic, he'll have these conversations. And with him, what was unique is that he will allow these students to have the platforms to speak their minds and what they believe, and he will challenge them, give them something to think about. And it was not always positive. Everybody did not always like what he had to say, but nevertheless, it was never anything that was directed to uh, where he would incite violence. Well, today he went to a university in Utah, and he's getting ready to do his talk, or have that little dialogue that he'll normally have with them, welcoming questions, welcoming points of views. And he was killed. He was killed. Just one bullet that killed him. And, I just really started to think about this. I was really shocked. Really, what brought me here was seeing how people who disagreed with him, who did not like him, were celebrating. They were, yes, he's dead, and making little TikTok videos, laughing, rejoicing, giving their heart goes out to the bullet and the bullet's family, things like that. And I found that very frightening. I always found it frightening when anybody rejoices in the death of someone. I think the only time I'm going to do the air quotes on this, understand this, is, or you can say, even if I may not agree with certain situations, you can say, okay, if someone violated a child and the person who violated a child died, I can see people being happy about that. The child's family, maybe the victim, they may be happy about it. Biblically, should they be happy? No. But these situations, you're going to see where someone will be happy, someone is gone. Maybe they have an abusive parent, a person who just terrorized them, abusive spouse, someone of that nature, and the person just dies in an accident. You could see in these situations where maybe the family of the abuser will feel relieved, maybe even happy. Does it make it morally okay? Does it look good? No. But these are scenarios where you're going to see people rejoicing. You're going to see people rejoicing when a, a dictator dies. The people who were oppressed, the person that was being imprisoned and tortured by this person. Most people are not sad when a dictator dies. Um, but this was someone who just would be talking. Would the conversation will get heated, but it's normally the person who does not agree with him who will be getting upset, getting mad, and he will just be stating maybe facts or talking to them about stats and data and science. And that was how he would go about it. But regardless of the situation, when you see people rejoicing when someone dies and they feel no shame, they're online showing their faces. This is going to let you know and just paints a picture of the times that we're living in. The times that we're living in. I remember reading in Proverbs about a generation whose teeth will be like swords. They'll have no compassion. They'll have no respect for authority. They'll have no respect for their families. They'll curse the poor. They'll just do the most unthinkable things. And we're definitely in that time. Children today, teenagers today are not the same as they used to be. I would always wonder sometimes, like, man, neighbors don't seem very friendly. People are not as warm as they used to be. But a lot of times, what's going on is people don't know who they can trust because we're living in the times of you don't know if your neighbor's a zombie. You know, if I was to be funny, people are dangerous. We can no longer just open our homes anymore like we would want to let someone come in and stay and give them rest and give them food and drink because things are different. The climate is different. And because there is an amped up level of wickedness that is in the air that I am seeing, that I have just been noticing and looking at, and we can, things such as sending the children over to a sleepover is out of the question. You even got to think about who's coming into your house. All these things are all tied into the times that we're in. What it really boils down to, guys, is that we have to just keep looking up. If we don't put our whole trust in God, we're going to get lost. We're going to be so destroyed and so discouraged by what's around us that we're going to lose faith in God. Because you're going to say to yourself, why, God, are you allowing the earth to just be set on fire? And all these things are happening, and it seems as if the wicked are getting they're getting more traction, they're getting more momentum, while the poor or those who wants to do right, they're being killed or they're being thrown off to the side. They are the ones who people are turning against. We're in the time where good is now being called evil and evil is now being called good. So we're now having to decide, are we going to bow down to that? Are we going to go along with and say something is something that we know to be evil is good, and call good evil so that we can be in a safe space, so that we can be safe. It's going to take a certain level of courage. You know, back in the biblical days, the old days, you will be slaughtered on the spot for certain things. You had to uh, render to the Romans and acknowledge their gods and give tribute to this person. And if you didn't, you're going to be pulled out and fed to lions or tortured. And while that may happen in certain parts of the world, when you're in the Western parts of society, it's going to be done in a different way. Okay? You're going to be bullied. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be marginalized. You're going to lose your family. You may lose individuals because of your political views. There may even be Christians right now who'll sit there and say, well, he deserved it. He was with Trump. They'll allow politics to get in the middle of that because, oh, he was taking pictures with Trump. Oh, he had MAGA hats on and all these different things. So believe it or not, there'll be Christians who will say, oh, well, he deserved it. Did God tell you that? We have to be really, really careful that we do not get caught up in a political battle. The way that I really make a lot of my decisions is I look at what lines up with my moral values and beliefs. Okay? And what does not interfere with my Christian beliefs or my faith, or what will not be a threat to my faith. If there's any group or any party that's an enemy to my God, an enemy to what who I have faith in, then I can't rock with you. That's just all there is to it. You understand? And the biggest thing to always remember is you don't put your hope and put your faith in man, no matter what Democratic, Republican, whatever they want to say they are, or I don't, I'm not, I'm neither. You don't want to have faith in any human being but in God. But what I looked at today was someone who spoke about God, who spoke about the Lord, who was speaking. And because it's something that individuals may not like, or whatever the situation is, because it could be any reason, right? That's just where my mind goes. Someone didn't like something and this is what occurred. But whatever the reason, my biggest thing is watching people rejoice. Watching people rejoice. Watching people be happy. And we are living in a time where people are very desensitized. People are very cold. We're living in times that people get a phone and record someone being killed and abused. And they're going to do that, and they're going to save the cameras. They're going to do that before they help. And it's frightening. It is frightening. Be prayerful and be vigilant. Be prayerful and be vigilant. And all that's happening, in my opinion, I believe, because the coming of the Lord is near. And that's why we're experiencing certain things. Sometimes you may feel afraid. Sometimes you may feel tired. Maybe you want to give up. Maybe you're done. But one thing I'll say to you is just don't do it. That is one thing I tell myself. You can't give up. Where are you going to go? You're going to go back to what? The chopping block you got saved from? Whenever you are not at your best, what I will say to you is remember, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about God, it's about Christ. And what we do is we trust Him. Even when you feel all wrinkled, even when you feel like your garments are filthy, you pray and you ask God to guide you because you're His. We belong to Him. And we need to keep the faith in Him that when you're weary and you have nothing left and you are tired of of paddling, or you're tired of treading the waters, your feet has grown tired and you just want to sink to the bottom, you just let go and allow yourself to float and trust God. He's going to lead you. He's going to show you the direction. But no matter what happens, do not curse God. Do not turn away from God. Do not relinquish your ties with God. Do not begin to think, I might as well go back out into the world. There's nothing out there. You need to remember what you got saved from. And what we left, what God saved us from, what's out there now is far worse. It is far worse. The youth are dying left and right. Young people are dying faster than old people. There is a murderous spirit. There's unclean spirits all over the place. There is a lot of evil has now become subjective. What is evil? What is bad? There's a lot going on. And if we step out, we're not going to last. It's going to be that gotcha. You understand? So stay rooted, stay grounded in God. I don't know what your feelings are about Charlie Kirk, but this is not a political message. It's just a reality check that if you speak too much about something, let's think about where you are in the United States, at least for me. You speak too much about something that people don't like, or if that's the case, all right, you can be killed. And then people are being allowed to laugh about it, and it's okay. And there's even some media that's like, well, if you say things that's going to make people angry, something's bound to happen. So that's a silent nod. What this does, it encourages that behavior. And what people are not understanding, that you may be looking at this guy, but what happens when you say something? What happens when I speak about something? Will we be shocked too? Is that what America's about? Because even when you look at anyone, whether they're transgender, whether they are pro-abortion, whether they are about allowing children uh, to change their sex. If a boy wants to be a girl, he could be a girl. A girl want to be a boy. Do you have a right to go up and shoot that person? Does anyone have a right to go and find that transgender individual who is online taunting parents about their kids? Should you go to that person's house and blow their heads off? Well, there's a lot of people that would actually do that if they feel like their children, you're taking a risk at my kid, or you're reaching out to my child. There's a 99.9% chance that that very well can happen. But you notice this is not going on. You're not hearing reports of people going in, getting these individuals, or barging into certain areas and taking this person out because they're talking too much about gay rights, or or immigration. You understand? Because no one has a right to do that. But the level of spiritual warfare is changing, where it's like you open your mouth and you say something, you're going to die. And the question you're going to ask yourself is, are you willing to die for what you believe? Should it come down to it? Are you also willing to have your eyes open to make sure you're not being fooled? Because sometimes, guys, when it comes to politics, it comes to things like that, this is just me hypothetically speaking. Looking at it, it appears okay, someone who didn't agree with him did something here and took him out, okay? But also, the way things can really work is that someone from who would have been a supporter or on that team would take out their own, okay? So that there could be a big uproar. All these things can happen. You just never know. However, with Charlie Kirk, he always spoke on those subjects where he incurred a lot of anger. People were very upset about it. These are the topics where people get really volatile when you're talking about pro life, when you're talking about the family, male and females, when we're talking about pronouns, their relevance, when you're talking about transgenderism, when you're talking about all those type of things, you have to understand the spiritual warfare behind it. The spirit behind that is vicious. The principality and power behind that is vicious. It's the same way how it was in Sodom and Gomorrah. It's the same way it was when the angels went to speak to, Lot and his wife. It's an aggressive spirit. It's very aggressive, you see. And it manifests through people because it's not about choice. It's about domination. So he died doing what he loved. But we always have to make sure we just keep our eyes open. We have to use wisdom so that we're not going in one area to say, oh, they did this to take him out, and while it could be something completely different. Okay? Most importantly, look at humanity. Look at how depraved humanity have become. That we can laugh at people's hurt, bully people online, bully people to death in schools, and nothing happens. People being hurt is funny, and being desensitized, there's no shame. Because to shame someone means, oh, you're infringing on their freedom of speech. Well, you may have freedom of speech, but it does not keep you from freedom of consequence. And it's just absolutely frightening. Frightening. I'll say this and then I'll go. I remember a few years ago seeing, it may have been more than 4 or 5 years ago, these two boys from their window watching this man struggling. He somehow, I don't know how the man fell in the water, but the man was drowning. And instead of these teen boys calling for help, they videotaped exhausted just watching him struggle and seeing him go under and laughing and snickering about it. And he died. That's the world we're in. Boys, a young boy, some teens went to the park. The girl knew the boys, and they went walking somewhere, and they just wanted to know what it felt like to murder somebody. A couple years ago, a lady's coming out from work on her car. A bunch of kids come up, try to yank out her car, pull her out. Her arm's still in the seatbelt. The boy pulls off with her, pulls her, drags her around till her arm rips off her body. This is the times we're in. It's absolutely frightening. That's why we stay prayed up. We pray over our family. We pray over our loved ones. We pray over our children. And always observe people around you. When someone dies, when someone is hurt, are they happy? If there's a Christian who's happy that someone who's a transgender got killed or murdered, oh, that's what they get. You got to give them a side eye. Or happy of what happened today with Charlie Kirk and say, oh, well, there go that that's what happened when you MAGA. Manga. I always say manga. MAGA. MAGA. Yeah, he was a Trump supporter. That's what happened. Nah. That's wickedness speaking. I remember a long time ago, someone who I knew and have a lot of respect for. They wanted to go to a funeral. And then this individual did not get along, but for some reason they wanted to go to the funeral. Come to find out, they later shared with me that they just wanted to go to the funeral because they wanted to see the person in the coffin so they can say over their body, it's over. And keep in mind, the person who got killed, they were killed in a terrible accident. It was so bad they had to use the jaws of life to get their body out. Mangled mess. And the individual got dressed and went to the funeral of someone that they never got along with so they can look in the casket and say, it's over. And when they said it, and I looked on that person's face and how their eyes just opened up really big when they said it, I remember just feeling this. My heart jumped. It actually, my heart felt like it got hot and my stomach just did this thing. It was scary. Who does that? And of course, over the years, I was always trying to think differently. But over time, more things emerged and I realized, it is what it is. You just can't reason your way out of what's before you. But anybody who rejoices over the death of a person is scary. Scary. I told you moments that I can see why they would, as in a pedophile, somebody who, took the innocence of a child or ripped a child apart or did something really horrible, or a dictator. You're going to kind of understand why people will rejoice if that person's not there. But otherwise, it's sick. It's scary, and that's somebody you better sleep with one eye open. But guys, I know I've talked for quite a bit. Thank you so much for listening. If you are so inclined, keep Charlie Kirk and his family in your prayers. Keep your family in your prayers. And just realize that if you're okay with that, then are you okay with someone taking your life for your opinion. Now, I know people will justify, nah, I don't say this, I don't say what he say. No matter. If someone feels offended by anything you say, by your belief, by your religion, by your way of life, should you be killed for it? I think most of you will say no. All right, God bless.